Hello, today is, I'm getting beeps. There we go. Today is April 22nd. What is today?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
all
the
right, I got it right
22nd.
this time. April 22nd, 2013, and you're listening to I Think You Think, a podcast that puts a new spin on debate and discussion. I'm Justin, and on the other side of my computer screen is James.
How we doing, folks?
Yeah, I almost forgot to stop to let you say anything. And we are your hosts and carry no credentials worth noting. I Think You Think is a podcast that focuses on what we, your hosts, think, but also what you think. Too many times we spend debates and discussions talking past one another and not enough time trying to learn and understand why someone thinks what they think. This is what makes I Think You Think different, because we are focused on why people think the way that they do and why we think the way that we do. James and I believe that the forum of ideas should be open to everyone, and everyone should have the opportunity to challenge and be challenged by ideas. We are not here to pass judgment, but merely discuss ideas and topics. This podcast, first and foremost, is a conversation between us and hopefully you. Feel free to email us. You can follow us on Facebook for future podcasts. Follow us on Tumblr for links relevant to this podcast. I didn't update this, but we also have a Twitter now.
And no longer a Tumblr.
Yeah, and no longer a Tumblr. But at I Think _you think. And then we also have a blog, which the URL escapes me at the moment, but you will find links to all of these things on the underbar of the video. And then all of our MP3s are being hosted at libsyn.com, Libsyn, and you can just do a search for I Think You Think. But again, all of those links in the underbar, also on our Facebook page and all such and like. I Think You Think is produced by StolenArts Productions and is recorded live at Fisher International Studios. And this is the very first, well, not the very first, but this is our first live show where we actually have many, many guests. And so, yeah, we're going to just dive right in. We have two really great topics. And James, you keep breathing into your microphone. I'm going to come over there and smack you.
Okay, well, we are recording in your studios, so even though I'm at a
different location.
Satellite location way up in Schaumburg.
It is true. It is true. So our first topic, we're gonna. This is one that we put off last week. We probably should have talked about it last week, but we had scheduled the drunk cast from our suggestion from our Norway listener for to drink, and that was interesting and fun, and maybe we may do that again. But the topic for the first part was we were going to talk a little bit about some of the events that happened last week. Boston, the letters being mailed to president and senator that contained ricin, and I think, well, there was a lot of things that happened in Boston last week, so that's probably going to take up most of the time. So, James, how were things for you?
They're good. They're good. It was I was actually at a meeting when it hit the news about the bombings, and I don't know. It was kind of a whirlwind. And the day where they caught the second brother, I was off that whole day, and it just left me emotional. Like the next day, because it was just intense. I mean, it's crazy. So many things happened. I don't even know where to start. I mean, just the fact that whoever did what they did is crazy, and it's brutal. But everything that played out after that, the car chase, them supposedly throwing like pipe bombs out the window, and then basically shutting down that part of Boston, like to search house by house to track him down. It was just insane. It was insane.
So, I watched a lot of the TV shows that I watch, and there was kind of this general concept that was going on that I really kind of I wanted to reflect on a little bit that came out of the Boston, the actual bombing, and not necessarily, the things that happened later on we can kind of address, but the actual bombing, everything that kind of took place. I was impressed as a humanist, as somebody who I value humanity a lot. I believe that in general we are good people. That there are evil people out there. There are people who do bad things. but in general, us as a society, as people, we are generally good. And it was nice to see that in everything that was going on in Boston, that what you saw were those first responders, the people of Boston stepping up, and being a beautiful representation of humanity, in as a great juxtaposition between what's such a horrible thing that had happened, and that represents, I believe on the Daily Show, Jon Stewart actually put it this way, was saying that something that represents the worst of humanity, and it's being mirrored by something that represents the best in humanity.
Right. I don't remember, I think it was on talk radio, driving to or from work, where I heard someone, and I've heard this before. Actually, it's a Mr. Rogers quote. Now that I remember, now that I think about it, about how when he was a kid, his mom would tell him when he saw like a disaster, look at all the people going to help. So something awful's happening. Someone gets hurt. There's a fire. Focus on all the people going to help, and I think that is uplifting. And I mean that's good, but obviously prefer the thing didn't ever happen. And there's so much more going on than that. I think anytime anything really bad happens, there are people that step up and move towards it, and you have the first responders and just people that are there that are gonna, that their first instinct is to help others.
Right.
Yeah, there's so much more to get into about it.
It's kind of I was recently talking with one of our listeners about a previous podcast, one of our first ones, the "This Man Is About to Die" picture, in which the gentleman was pushed off of the subway onto the subway tracks and then hit. And you and I had talked a little bit about the fact that no one responded, and we kind of we talked a little bit about that and everything like that. And it's nice to see when you have people who are trained to deal with those kinds of things to respond so quickly. It really kind of changes everything that's kind of gone on.
Well, I don't know if it changes it, but it sort of it represents the opposite of what caused it all to happen. Someone who's going to strike out kind of senselessly at strangers, who are vulnerable, is kind of, in a way it starts to balance out, humanity's actions on that day in that place by these people that are, because you don't know, like one bomb goes off, another bomb goes off. Nobody knows if there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but these people are still moving to help the people that are hurt. And this says a lot. I don't know. The thing that sticks with me about it is that the days between the bombing and them finally catching the second brother, all of these reports that got pulled back. Oh, they have a suspect in custody. FBI's like, actually, no, we don't. We don't know where you got that information, but it's blatantly wrong, and all you're doing is hindering our investigation. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that was happening all day long. Something would get, they'd start announcing something like it happened, and then they'd have to pull it back a little bit later on. And I heard some journalists that were talking about it on the radio, basically complaining what happened to the 2 to 3 confirmed sources. You get one semi-confirmed source, I guess, and that's enough to start broadcasting it because you want everyone turning to your channel. They're watching CNN, but we're on Fox. We want them watching us. Let's just go with it and hope it's right. And I think that's just it's a big problem with ratings in the news and things like that, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's probably one of the reasons I don't, other than the fact that I don't have time to just sit and watch 24-hour news networks. But I really kind of filter the news that I get, only because when I'm at work, there's really no way for me to get news as it's happening. And since I spend 9-10 hours a day, 5 days a week at work, there's a large chunk of time in which I'm kind of away from the news. But I do listen to a lot of news on my way to work and on my way home on NPR, and then there's another radio station that I can't remember who it is, but the NPR I like because it has articles and things, and it's ironic or coincidental that because the Boston Marathon was when it was, one of the articles that they had on NPR, they were talking about the history of the Boston Marathon, but this was prior to the Boston Marathon being complete or over with, and so nothing had happened at this point. They hadn't broke into any, things, and they were talking about the history and who started it, and why they started it, and it was really interesting. And then when I got home, my wife had asked me, "Hey, did you hear about what happened in Boston?" And I said, "No, I had only heard this one article, but it was just this stuff going on." And then she told me about it, and I started to kind of follow it, and then the normal news shows that I watch, which, I don't know if you would call them news, but it's like the Colbert Report and the Daily Show. Those are about the most news that I watch. I get most of my news from the radio when I'm driving to and from work, and then a little bit on the internet.
Yeah, they cover news topics. I don't know if you call that a news show. They definitely cover aspects, especially political things. But yeah, I get most of my news from, driving to and from work, and I try to use that time. I have a short drive to work, so you get in little snippets, but I listen to news radio when I do. But yeah, it's so much went on in such a short amount of time, and there was so much irresponsible reporting. And I watch it. There's a show on HBO called Newsroom, and in the first season, there's they have this little diatribe about how they made a big mistake, because when networks first started broadcasting, the government basically gave them those airwaves for free in agreement. And the deal was that they would have to broadcast the news for an hour every night. But what they point out on the show was the problem was that they did not tell them that they could not advertise during that time and make money off it. And that, is really a problem, because if we want to just for a moment, one of my problems with the news is anytime you're watching the show right before the news, there will always be is aspirin killing your family, and it'll be the last story they talk about at the end. It's always something overly dramatic, but it's to get you to watch. Is aspirin killing my family? No, aspirin's not killing your family. Aspirin's killing nobody's family. It's a 1 in a billion chance, it's some random fluke thing, whatever that they're talking about, and it's got nothing to do with almost anybody that's watching. But just the news in general drives me crazy. I'm gonna get off my tirade right now.
Well, I'll kind of I want to shift to a little bit. We've talked about social media in the past, and one of the unique situations, maybe I don't know if it's the first time, but it's definitely as big as it's been. The reason that one of the biggest reasons why these guys were caught in such a short amount of time was because everybody carries a camera with them. They were taking pictures. The police used those pictures. It helped to. There's one incredibly heart-tugging picture in which you can see the backpack setting on the ground. The one kid, and I don't know what his name is, wearing the white hat, is walking away, and the young boy, Michael, I think was his name, maybe Matthew. I can't remember.
I don't remember off the top of my head either.
One of our minions, go and figure it out. Anyway, he's standing there right at the end, and you can see all three of those, and it's just this moment captured in time that when the picture was taken, it meant nothing, and it says so much now. But they caught these guys, they tracked them down, all because of social media. Well, not all because of social media, but social media had a very big part in it.
Right. Because it's so much little bit of detail shot out there all at once. And none of you are minions, by the way. Okay? None of you. But if anyone wants to look it up, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I agree. They got so much information from those shots, because I don't remember where it was I read it. I was reading about it right after we recorded our last podcast, while I was still really kind of active. and there were someone who, right when the bomb went off, the first thing he did was take a picture, and then he put the camera away, and then he went to help people. You know, but even though his his instinct is to help people, he still takes that picture. You know, and I'm sure a lot of people did that. You know, I mean, it is amazing. I mean, social media, I think we've talked about it before, has so many positive and negative effects on our society overall. But, you know, in this situation, it definitely, it seems at least like it was very helpful in getting them.
Yeah, it seems like somebody got ejected again.
I think someone's got connection issues.
It's possible. Yeah, and now to move on from that point, I had heard that when they were trying to find these guys and they were going through, well, there's two aspects to. There was the shootout that took place at MIT, and then the events after that in which they were trying to locate the second brother. And from what I understand, the shootout that took place at MIT, that a lot of the news didn't even know that it was even going on until MIT actually posted something on their website saying that this was going on. You know, kind of a like, hey, you know, kind of warning thing. Judson did it where I went to school when they had the flooding and the rains that we've had the last few days. They had a post up on the website saying, you know, there's this flooding going on. But MIT had posted that, and that's when the news, Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Correct.
Yeah.
Answering a question in chat.
Yeah, I was answering a question in chat there. Somebody was wondering because it was in Boston and everything. But anyway, and that's what got the news people there, you know, trying to figure out what was going on. But afterwards, there was there an actual door-to-door search that was taking place while they were looking for the second brother?
Yeah, I don't know how much door-to-door it was, but they were like shutting down parts of Boston, wherever it was exactly, in Boston. They said the neighborhood. I don't remember the name of it anymore. And they were like actually telling people, you have to leave your house. You have to go now. And they were like, they talked to this couple with their kid and their dog who like looked like they were just, you know, kind of chilling out at home, and they basically got kicked out of their house. And like big areas were just, you know, it was only police and all the other, you know, official groups that were there. The ATF. I mean, it was pretty much everybody.
Do you know if they were like going through the houses, or were they just getting people out of the houses for their safety? Like, were they saying you guys need to move from this area because such and such, or was it like you need to get out of here because of this dangerous situation? Oh, and by the way, leave your keys behind because we're going to go through your house and make sure that there's nobody there.
Well, one of our chatters is saying it was door-to-door and it was Watertown. That is totally correct. Thank you. But that was the last place he was seen. So
Okay.
that's why they focused on that area. But eventually they gave up and sort of shut it down, and it wasn't that long after that they found him in the boat. Yeah, it was crazy. It was insane to watch. I mean, and it was just repetitive and over the top. With the people that were actually like on camera, some of the things they said, I can't remember any of them, but it was just driving me crazy. Like if my eyes could have come out from rolling my eyes, they would have.
Yeah, I mean, if I guess when I had heard door to door, my thought was them going up to houses, knocking on, and then just going into the house saying we're going to look for this guy. Which now I'm glad they caught him. But that seems like a rights violation to me. And I don't want to get off topic of Boston to get onto like talking about rights, but I mean, shoot, Seventh Amendment, is it, that protects against unlawful searches and seizures?
Well, I think the only problem would come up is if you knocked on someone's door and said, "Hey, we're looking for one of the bombers, and they said, no, you can't come into my house. I doubt that there would be many people in that situation. I mean, it's totally feasible that there would, but it being like that close to have having happened, and knowing, like, with all those police there, are you ever going to say no? Like, I mean, literally, there were hundreds of like officers of the law in one regard or another. If one of them knocks on your door and says, "Can we look through your house?" You're going to say, "Of course you can." You know,
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to say, especially that close to such, an attack like that? Who's not going to want that person, out of their neighborhood, locked up, put away?
Well, I agree, and in kind of a lighter tone, I wouldn't probably want them to come through my house because it's always a mess, and so be like, can you come back in like a half hour and give me some time to pick up? Because I really don't want you to walk through and say, oh wow, you live like a slob, don't you?
Not suspicious at all, Justin. Not suspicious at all.
Then I have the cuffs on me.
Probably.
Now I'm trying to. I'm trying to think. There was another thing I wanted to hit about Boston, and no, it slipped my mind. Take it in van.
Well, I mean, there's the other things that happened. I mean, the letters that got sent out. Every time there were a couple bomb threats called in when they were supposed to do the conferences or the press conferences. It was a crazy couple of days. I mean, so much happened in such a short amount of time. It was just insane. I don't know if any of that was what you wanted to talk about. I know you wanted to talk about the letter that got sent to the president and that congressman or senator with ricin, which, from what I understand, is an incredibly deadly toxin.
Yeah, and that's another one where I had heard that one of the ways that they found this gentleman, there was kind of two aspects to it. One, this isn't the first letter that he's sent. He's sent other letters, not with poisons or anything else in it, but that he sent numerous letters complaining and saying, things you could do. I mean, you can send a letter to the president as much as you want and complain, or to any of the senators. It's you are allowed to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But also, I guess, Facebook posts and other social media posts that he had done. That was another one where they kind of tracked down the person who had done it through those means.
Well, it's good that some of the extremely ignorant in the world are just blatant about it, so they're easy to just grab and be done with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
One of our chatters is saying that he put his return address on it, which is fantastic. Like, here, let me break a horrible law, and then I'll give you directions to my house. Just put this in Google. I'll be home.
Well, I don't know if, because I had heard that the ricin ones didn't have a return address on it, but he might have had previous letters that he had sent in that did have return addresses on it. The ones that had the ricin in it, from what I understand, did not have any return address. But obviously, anytime you send something through the post, through the postal service, it gets stamped from where it's come from, and then there's ways that they know when it's left certain areas, but it's not tracked in the way that like a UPS tracking number or anything else is.
Right, but they can narrow stuff down and technology. Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I was gonna. There was something else I thought of for Boston, and it's completely slipped my mind.
Should have taken notes. It's all these people distracting us here.
It is. There's so much movement and typing and all sorts of things.
They keep setting off like fireworks and trying to. I don't speak sign language. I don't know what that means.
But we're happy to have you guys. It's very fun.
100%.
Yep, I completely agree. Thank you for coming. Well, let's, if you've got nothing else on Boston, and I obviously am missing my brain enough that I don't have anything else on Boston, we might as well move on to the next topic.
Let us do that. It's going to be a more fun topic.
Yeah. So before we move on, this is, I'm sure James probably completely agrees with me. It was a horrible
Did you just lose your internet connection, Justin? Is
in
that what just
Boston.
happened? I'm you're fading in and out on me. I don't know if it's fading in and out on anybody else.
I don't know, my audio or my video.
Yeah, you froze for a second. I'm not sure if it's your end or mine.
Oh, okay, no idea.
So you were saying,
so anyway,
you think that I agree. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. That everything that happened in Boston, the people who responded, it was great to see such a great testament to the good that is in humanity when faced with such horrible, terrible things that had happened. My heart goes out to those in Boston, those that are dealing with the pain and death that has been brought, and I think that they've done a great job, because one of the biggest things whenever there's things like this that happen is it's getting back to the normal everyday stuff that makes an event like this makes it so hard to get back to that stuff. And I think if there's any city that really could do it, I mean, Boston, it's probably one of the worst places they could have done something like that, because from what I understand, Bostonians are just going to go right back out and live their life the way, that we can't let things like this affect us in that way. So there you go. So moving on, Hoarding.
Yes. Have you ever seen the show?
I have watched, I believe, all of the first season, and the only reason I stopped after that was there wasn't any more seasons on Netflix at the time.
Was it because you couldn't find the remote control because it was buried under a stack of magazines you've been collecting since 1975?
It's true, but you aren't supposed to tell anybody about that, James. That was a secret.
Ha ha ha! Just kidding.
Anyway,
I've seen a handful of episodes of the show, and for me, like, there's two things. Number one, I feel like it's just so sad sometimes, like how attached they get to things that any normal person would be like, yeah, throw that away. I don't know why that's even still in my house. But at the same time, there's part of me that thinks that the show needs a slapper, someone who can just slap them every time they're like, don't throw away. That's, the grocery bag that I bought oranges in 1989, and I've been keeping that under the dead cat for a reason. Like, someone needs to intervene and, like, shake them and say, something's wrong and we need to fix it right now, because it's just insane. I have stuff, but I ain't got nothing like that. If I crammed all my stuff into one room, maybe it would be like that.
I guess I kind of understand what you're saying. I know that they normally have somebody who comes on who like specializes in organization, because a lot of times some people who hoard tend to have poor organizational skills, and I have poor organizational skills, so there you go.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
Intervention. Everyone at Justin's house.
Yep. And clean it. Clean my house, please. Thank you. But the thing that, let me just mute real quick. Okay. The thing about, and then so they have that person, and then they normally have some kind of a psychiatrist or a psychologist or somebody who's at least familiar with, like a social worker, or somebody who's familiar with helping and dealing with people who have some kind of mental thing. And yeah, and the whole thing about the show is, yes, it's very entertaining, and with most shows like that, you only get the entertaining bits and the parts of the show that really kind of sell it. And so I don't know how much of it, they might be saying yes to throwing stuff away for like 95%, and then are saying no to only a few things, but that's what the show wants to hit on. They want to have this part where they're like, oh, well, they're not saying no to anything.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if that's what's happening, but I can kind of understand how they might attach sentimental value to certain things. As someone who over the years I've gotten better at it, I attach sentimental value to things that like you don't really need. Like I have game discs that don't work anymore, that I still have because they mean something to me. Now, these are like game discs for computers. Video games, I don't have any of those. But like computer discs that the programs are old on it, but I still have them. Like they still sit there, and I don't do anything with them. Every once in a while, I will go through and toss some of those things, but I don't know. If anybody between the two of us, if anybody could possibly be a hoarder, it would be me, because there are things that I keep that, like, my wife's like, why do you have this? And I'm like, oh, well, when I was a freshman in high school, and she's like, no, that's stupid.
So she's part of the reason you're less of a hoarder than you would be, because she has made you throw some things out that maybe you would have kept?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've thrown some things away that, like, I would have preferred to keep, but she was like, you know, you don't use it, you don't need it, it's not important, it's broken. I mean, like, I would keep old printers sometimes because I would think to myself, oh, well, all I need is a printer cartridge and then the printer will work. And I'd have like 3 old printers. And my wife's like, why do we have all these printers? And I'm like, well, all I need is a printer cartridge and then we have a printer. I know.
Okay,
so
we all need to watch Justin closely. No, I mean, I had, before I moved where I am now, I had a lot of old tech like that. I had more space, but I did a massive clear out. You know, I had like probably 2 printers. I ended up getting rid of both of them because I had recently bought a Wi-Fi printer. But I had built up, like, with tech stuff, it's easy, for me at least, to build it up. Like, oh, the old PCs and stuff, and oh, if I took all these together, like all these apart and put them back together, I could have one PC. Truth is, I'm never going to do it. But still, you know, I could have. But I think it's easy to build up collections of a specific thing that you're interested in, you know, like computer discs or whatever it is, even if it's kind of broken. Like if you're a tech person, you know, to have a bunch of that stuff. But a lot of these people you see on the show, like and these are obviously the worst case scenarios in hoarding. Like there's no discrepancy, you know, there's no like single thing. It's just everything.
Well, there were some that was the case. Like they would have bags of garbage still in their house or out in their garage or something like that. But there was a few that I had seen where their hoarding was bad, but they were hoarding like some sort of collectible or something like that. And it's like every time I see a cat figurine, I just have to buy it. And then they have like 2 bedrooms full of cat figurines, and some of them are still in boxes that came from like Amazon that never had even gotten opened because they just took the box and put it in the room, and you know they don't even have the things out on display. But yeah, there were some people, like I remember one lady, she had food in her pantry that was from like 1998, and her reasoning was, oh, it's, you know, it's just a Best Buy date, it's not like an expiration date. And like she would say, like for the cans, the canned stuff, well, as long as the can isn't like popping out or the top popping off, then it's still good. And it's like that's the kind of stuff that where your health is at risk, where like there were people like that, and then there were others who they hoarded stuff that was important to them. They never got rid of it. They never like move on from those things.
Yeah, I don't know. Keeping food that's been expired for like 15 years is probably not a good idea. You know, I don't know. Maybe rice would be okay after 15 years.
That's really sad that 1998 was 15 years ago.
Dude, people born in 1992 on this date are out celebrating their 21st birthday. 1992.
Oh, man.
That's a whole nother podcast. Yeah, we're old and you're not. That's what we're going to call that podcast. But yeah, I mean, like there's a point where you'd think that most people would recognize that it's become a problem. You know, when you filled up a room with cat figurines, actually, when you buy your second cat figurine, it might be a problem. When you filled up a room, it's definitely a problem. You know, you've exceeded the limits of what is reasonable. But it's just like anything. Like when I watch the show, it feels like it's just like someone who is a bad alcoholic, or any of the other ways that we sort of deal with emotional trauma and stress. Because they seem like they're that same kind of, broken person, and this is like their thing. And that's why it's so sad to watch the show. Like, I've only seen a handful of episodes. I can't watch it. It's depressing, because I would like to believe that if I did this, like, some of my friends would come grab me by the scruff of the neck and be like, what the F is your problem? Clean up your house, throw that stuff out. I would hope that and I know there's people that would be like, dude, get your shit together, But it seems like these people don't have it, or they've pushed them away so far. I don't know what it is, but it just seems it's such a sad, sad thing. Like, I won't watch Intervention either, because that stuff is sad as well. Like, it's so horrible. So horrible.
Why is it that we choose podcast topics that are sad and then also sad? Can't we do a sad one and a happy one?
We can. What if somebody was a hoarder of jelly beans?
That would be delicious.
It would be delicious, although I don't like jelly beans. This is a bad example for me, but I'm glad you're happy.
A hoarder of
Starbucks gift cards. Now I'm in. Let's do it.
Oh, see, I was thinking tequila or like Jägermeister.
So every other podcast is going to be a drinking podcast now? Is that what we agreed on?
I'm drinking, but I'm not drinking anything with alcohol in it.
That doesn't count. I think some of our chatters here want that. They just want an excuse to drink with us, though, I think.
Yeah. Just every time we say something stupid, drink, and you'll be drunk in about 5 or 10 minutes, as I was told.
That's why I can't see Ross anymore. He passed out.
He's passed out. Actually,
Yeah.
I think he had mentioned in the chat that his wife had come home. So evidently he had to get off.
Oh, well, he's still there. Well, I saw the top of his head. I think he's still in there somewhere.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Perhaps.
It is possible. It is possible.
So what things, now since we're on hoarding, what are some of the things that you own that could possibly be the start of your hoarding?
Well, from Christmas through like early February, I went on it was unbelievable. I bought a lot of Blu-rays. I went from like 4 Blu-rays to I think I have 150 Blu-rays now in the span of like about 2 months.
Well, you already had like, oh, you know what? I think I might be thinking of your audio CDs where you had like that huge wall pretty much of them.
I had a lot of them. And if you need a cable to connect any 2 electronic devices, I probably have 2 of them.
See, I do that too, where I'm like, I might need this eventually. I don't know why I would ever need this particular type of cable, but I might in the future, so I'm just going to throw it in this drawer and hang on to it.
See, the trick is it's not hoarding if you have it sorted well. You need a couple of those little like sliding drawer, like cases, like plastic things that have the drawers, and you can sort them, and now you're not hoarding. You're an organized tech person. It's totally different. It's completely different.
Yeah, no, see, I'm not good at organizing, so it's just, okay, this is a drawer, I'm going to put electronic cords in, I might actually roll them up, though, and put rubber band or something around them.
See, that's a step in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction. I'd say those, I mean, I've had like a large number of books. I've moved to the Kindle, so I don't have nearly as many as I did. But for a while, I had a lot. I think my mom is kind of on the verge of being a hoarder. She's got a lot of stuff. It's relatively well organized, but I think if she lived all by herself, we would need to visit regularly to keep her in check. I really do.
Well, I have a lot of books, but I don't have. Well, my wife has a lot of books. I didn't bring as many books to our marriage as she did.
It's okay if you guys get divorced, you get half of them. So
that'll teach her. That's probably the only reason why she's still here.
So she doesn't have to give up her books?
So she doesn't have to get rid of the books. No, I'm trying to think of, electronic equipment. Like, I had an old computer that I finally... The reason I was hanging on to it was because there was some stuff on the tiny little hard drive that it had that I was afraid that I might eventually need, but I couldn't tell you if there was anything on there that was important to me anymore. so I like finally my throwing it away. I pulled out the hard drive, and this crappy like 128 meg of memory, 2 sticks of it, because I was thinking, oh, I might need these eventually. I don't know why I would, but I pulled them out.
You can just put those in a box and bring them to Best Buy. Best Buy, anything without a screen is technology. Basically, they'll just take like cables, old computer hardware, bring it to them, and they recycle it.
Oh, nice. Because the screen is probably because there's special.
Well, it's just $10. They'll take it. Yeah, because it does take more. But like if you bring in a laptop or a computer monitor or a TV, it costs $10. But that's still, I mean, it's nice to know because there's Best Buys all over the place for recycling. That's where I brought all the stuff. I like literally filled up the back of my hatchback with all this stuff, boxes of cables and everything. They even helped me. They even came out and like carted it in for me. So I basically just pulled up and they grabbed all that stuff, which is awesome because you don't want to throw all that stuff away. I mean, that's brutal.
And I know the city where I live, they recently sent out a mailer saying, hey, on this date at this location, we're doing an electronics pickup where you pay like $25 or $35 per carload, and you can bring anything you want to drop off to have recycled. So maybe that's the time to get rid of those things.
Yeah, I have 3 like old school TVs in my garage that I need to get rid of. I keep meaning to put it on free cycle and I forget.
Well, do they still work?
Yeah.
Well, see, then donate them.
Yeah, that's what I want.
We had TVs that we donated to Goodwill in order to get rid of them. And honestly, I have a dresser sitting here in my living room that we don't use anymore, but no one picks up dressers. Like nobody. I've called AmVets and all, anybody who does like the pickups. And nobody will come and get it for our area. And so what I have to do is I'm going to end up having to just take it out to the street and put a sticker on it so that they toss it. And I don't want to do it because it's a nice dresser, but I have no space for it and no one will come and get it.
You should try FreeCycle or just post it on Craigslist. Both those, I mean, do it when you know that you have a couple of days off in a row and like post it the night before those days and someone will come get it. I got rid of a couch that way, like literally in a day. And it was not a nice couch.
I had posted it on Craigslist once. I'll try FreeCycle because I know I do have an account on there to see if people will take it. But my wife's like, you guys have to get rid of that like now. Because it's been down here for like 2 months.
Are we gonna have to take a break in the podcast so you can go drag it out to the curb, or?
Yeah, actually, if everybody could come help real quick, it'll just take us like 2 minutes just to get it.
As soon as Yasmin gets there, I'll just call me. I'll be right over.
Okay. All right. Yasmin is one of our Norway listeners.
One of our many Norway listeners. We're big in Norway and New York.
New York and Norway, yep. So, yeah. Anyway, back to hoarding. So, electronics seem to be the thing. What is one of the things that you think is probably the oldest thing that you have owned? Not like as in it's physically old, but like how long you have had it.
For me, I would say I have a leather jacket that I got when I was 17, which means it's 23 years that I've had it, creeping up on 24 because it was Christmas. I'm guessing that at least 1 or 2 of our listeners are the same age as my jacket. There we go. I have plenty of workers. Like my jacket can drink, and some of my workers can't. It doesn't have official ID. That's probably, that's not true. Because I have a box of things from my grandfather that were his, like pins and awards and stuff that he had that I've been holding on to. I keep meaning to find someone who can build a shadow box so I can give it to my mom. I was her father. But those are the oldest things I have in the house.
That you've had since you were a child, basically.
Well, no, I didn't get those till he passed. But those are the oldest things. As far as longest term of having it myself, it's probably the jacket.
Really, you don't have anything from when you were a kid?
Not really. I mean, scars. No, I don't know. Like memories. I don't know. Not really. I mean, I might open up a box and be like, oh yeah, I have this, and I'll cover that in the podcast after. But I don't think so. I don't have. I'm not sentimental like that. I'm actually going to recycle my friends at the end of this year. So it's been nice podcasting with you, Justin, but it's been too long. No, I don't really have anything from when I was. I'm probably missing something. There probably is something, but nothing that comes to mind at least.
That's all right. We'll put it on the blog or something. Pictures and everything.
At chicagonow.com.
Yes. But the two of the things, they're actually right over there on the bookshelf. The two of the things that I have, I don't know if it's one of the oldest ones, but it's definitely when I thought of things that I've had since I was a child. I have a Bible that I received from my grandmother, an illustrated Bible from my 10th birthday. So, a long time ago, 20-some, no.
How old are you now?
I don't know, 46, no. I'm 31. So
okay, that means you've had it for 21 years.
21 years, thanks, because I swear there's nothing but water in this cup.
Your Bible and my jacket could go out drinking together.
They could indeed. And then right underneath that Bible is another Bible that I received from my grandmother, a prized possession that if my house was on fire, and assuming that my children and my wife were safe, that would probably be one of the things that I would grab to try to get out of the house. It's a Bible that was given to a member of her family. It was her mother-in-law's like aunt's Bible or something like that, something to that effect. Her mother-in-law's aunt's father's Bible or something, and it's dated from. It was given to them on their wedding day in 1885.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's still in really great condition. I actually one time back when I used to tour with choir from my college, we went to a church in which I found the same Bible, obviously not the exact same because that would be weird. But it was the same one. It was published by the same company and everything, and it was falling apart a lot more. The pages were ripped out of it. But mine's in pretty good condition. The binding has come off it at this point, not completely, but it's not attached to the pages. But a lot of the pages still have the original tissue paper because it's got hand-drawn pictures. All the pictures are hand-drawn within it. I mean, this dates from a time period when people didn't have 15 Bibles in their home. They had one family Bible, a big family Bible. It's big, pretty. If you talk for a second, James, I'll actually go grab it, then everybody can see it.
Okay, I'll talk for a second because I just think that it's probably actually true irony that you being an atheist, your most prized possession is a Bible. The one thing you'd grab. It's very odd. Okay, this is me chatting for a second. I am not a hoarder, but Justin is. So next week at this time, okay, we're all going to... Oh, hey. Next week at this time, we're all going to meet at his house and make him clean it.
All right, so I missed everything that you said because I had unplugged my headphones. So I'll catch it later. Some kind of irony.
Perfect.
Excellent. So this is the Bible from... Stop talking so people can see. This is the Bible from when I was 10. It's an illustrated Bible, so it has little pictures and stuff in it. And then this is the massively honking, huge Bible.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't it? It's gigantic. It's got these metal clasps on it and everything. Very nice. So this is where the binding is not as strong anymore. You can't see it as badly right now because the Bible's not open, and I tried not to open it that much because it's so bad. But the pictures inside are beautiful. And there's the weird, and it's, I've gone through it. Every time I open it up, I find something new. Like I found flowers that were pressed in there and no idea how long they've been in there. Like I found like a grocery list or something that had been written and then left in the Bible. And it's so cool because I like to think about the history that's behind it.
I was saying that it's kind of ironic that you being an atheist, your most prized possession happens to be a
Our
Bible.
two Bibles. Yeah. It honestly, it's just because of all of the memories that are tied up in both of them. They're both from my grandmother, who I loved very dearly, and they represent a lot of things to me. So they're very important to me.
So those are your two oldest possessions?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
literally.
there's probably one of them is very old, over 100 years, and I will open it up and take a picture of the page that shows the 1885 on it. But I can't really hold the Bible up and show it to you without
that thing
being potentially dangerous for pages to actually fall out of it.
And that thing is gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a huge book.
It's heavy too. So, but let's see. Yeah, so those are probably the two oldest. Trying to think if there's anything else that I have. I have a small coin collection, and some of those coins are from the early 1900s. But yeah, those are probably that's probably the oldest things.
Yeah, I don't have anything like that. I don't have anything with nearly as much character as your Bible there, sir.
Yeah, and it's got its own little special spot in our library. So in the chat, they're excited because evidently the Chicago Bulls have won.
Yes, they did. It's quite exciting.
So you're excited now too. And so so let's kind of wrap things up. I mean, we're getting up on the last hour, and yeah. So Boston, tragic thing. The Bostonians really showed what it is to be human, and really show such a great thing in such tragedy. Hoarding. We didn't even really get into. There are certainly reasons why people hoard, and you think that there should be a slapper on the show.
I think there should, and then maybe a post-slap hugger too. Because they make me sad too. So.
Yep. Nice. Okay. Well, I think that's probably about it. James, do you have anything you want to wrap up with?
No, just thank our chatters for keeping us amused on the side here and sticking with us. Somebody kept jumping in and out and in and out and in and out, but he threatened denial of service, so I've been running a program that's been doing that to him ever since he said that, so I'll turn it off now.
So thanks again, guys. Please remember to like the video on Facebook and YouTube. Share it with people. Let people know that they can join in on our wonderful podcast. We are starting our our guest a week thing starting in
this coming Saturday.
Actually, Ross will be joining us, I believe, and we'll get together with you, Ross, to figure out when specifically we're going to do that, and then we'll let everybody else know what we're going to be doing. And did we want to say what the topics were going to be?
I believe we're going to be talking about how arts are getting stripped out of the schools and how important.
I think
we
changed that. I think I actually changed that on you just to kind of keep you on your toes.
So you asked me the question. Oh man.
Just to drive you crazy.
Was it the hoarding comments? It was the hoarding comments. I apologize.
Well, that'll teach you a lesson. All right.
Okay. So what is the topic going to be on Saturday, Justin?
We are going to do a topic on drug testing for welfare recipients.
Okay.
And I don't know what the second topic will be at this point, but that's what we're going to weigh in on. That's what Ross was interested in talking about. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Sounds good.
So, yeah. So. Okay, that's it. We will see you guys next time. Remember to like and do all those such and such things. All right, see you guys later.